Good evening. Back again, and don't know what's happening. Internet messing up. I've heard people have had internet connection problems all day, so we're going to try to finish this out. So, welcome back, part two of tonight for chapter 12, the exciting conclusion of the original adventures of Hank the Cowdog by John R. Erickson. The exciting conclusion. Now, St. Peter's horn had a kind of an odd sound to it. Instead of saying kabloom, it went kabloomy! You would have thought that it was supposed to say a horn sound like doo-doo-doo. But it made a fire in the sky with that big explosion sound. Oh, shucks. Nah, that wasn't St. Peter at all. It was High Loper. He was standing on his back porch, blasting away with his pump shotgun. The scrunch had just fitted my throat around his jaws and was fixing to remove it when the artillery opened up. He threw his head back in the air. "Scrunch, hurry," said one of the other coyotes. "Kill dog fast." Scrunch was going for the throat again when Loper found his range and he distributed a full load of number 7 buckshot evenly through the crowd. You never heard such yipping and squalling. Them coyotes were jumping around like crickets in a shoebox, knocking each other down, trying to get out of there. All but Scrunch. He backed away real slow. "Another time, hunk, you me meet again." "Yeah, and so's your old man." That was the best I could do under the circumstances and under the spur of the moment, and of course I had a sore throat. I picked myself up, limped around. I had some nicks and cuts, and nothing was busted. I'd come out pretty good in the fight, so to say, all things considered. A Loper came running up the hill, slipping his shells into his shotgun. He hadn't taken the time to put his pants on, God bless him, which probably saved my life. All he had on was a pair of brown and white striped boxer shorts, his cowboy boots, and a t-shirt with 3 holes in it and some windmill grease. Legs looked awful pale and skinny sticking out of them boxer shorts. "Dang coyotes!" he yelled, and then he looked at me. Now this next part is kind of shocking. So prepare yourselves. He looked at me and still gets me choked up. Even today. He smiled. That's right. He smiled at me, Hank the Cowdog. I mean, I was just, by Georgia, overwhelmed with it all. In my whole career, I couldn't remember Loper even ever smiling at me. "Hank," he cried, "you come home." He laid down his gun. He came over and he throwed his arms around me. He gave me a big hug. "By golly, it's good to have you back." I licked him in the face, and he drew back and wrinkled his nose. "Dog, you stink. Where you been?" Aged mutton is where I'd been. About then, Sally Mae came running up the hill, tying the strings to her house coat and pushing her hair out of her eyes, which were red and puffy. "What is it? What is it with her? What's wrong?" "Coyotes, hun. Coyotes, a whole pack of them. I bet they were trying to get into the chicken house, but old Hank got here and he and Drover." "Where's Drover?" That was a good question. I'd kind of forgot about him in all the excitement. Then Sally Mae gave a cry. "Oh no! Oh no! I think he's not moving. He's just lying there, all still like. I've already mentioned that in the security business, you can't afford to get all sentimental and let your emotions get the best of you. I mean, it's a tough business, and you have to be prepared for the worst. I considered myself pretty muchly hard-boiled, but when I saw little Drover stretched out over there on the ground, it really ripped me. I mean, the little guy, he had done his best to protect the ranch. He stood his ground under combat conditions, but now we all went over to him. He didn't move a muscle, not even a hair, and it was pretty clear to me that he was dead. Big tear came up out of my eye and rolled down my nose. I had to turn away. I couldn't look anymore. Loper bent down. And, there was this long silence. His heart's beating. He's still alive! Oh, thank goodness! Actually, I can't see anything wrong with him. He's got a nick on his nose and one ear's been chewed on, but other than that, he looks all right. Let's take him to the house. I'll make him a nice little bed and try to get some warm milk down him. Loper gathered him up in his arms, and they started down the hill. And I just happened to be looking at Drover when all at once, one of his eyes popped wide open. And he was looking around. He glanced around a bit and closed it again. The little runt was half-stepping. That's what he was doing. He wasn't about to miss out on a warm bed and warm milk. All right, maybe he fainted in the heat of battle or something. Sounds like something he'd do. But I could see that he was feeling no pain at all. It took him 2 whole days to get over his craving for warm milk and a soft bed. He probably could have strung it out another day or two, only he peed on the carpet and got throwed out. I was down by the corrals when he came padding up. Hank, what's going on? I was working another case and didn't really want to be disturbed. Hello, high stepper. What's going on is that some of us have to work for a living so that others of us can attend to the milk drinking. He shrugged, gave a silly grin. I'm feeling much better fine now, thanks. I'll bet. What you working on? I glanced over both shoulders before I answered. There's something funny going on around here, Drover. Look at these tracks. I pointed the tracks, but he didn't look. Tracks are down in the dirt, son. That's where you find most tracks, on the ground. Hank, tell me something. Did you really join up with them coyotes? I mean, did you really think you could live with them? I walked a short distance away and for a minute didn't answer. Drover, if I tell you something, will you swear to keep it a secret? He bobbed his head up and down. No, I mean, you've got to swear an oath. He raised his right paw. I swear an oath, Hank. My lips are sealed. Okay, I guess I can trust you. Sort of. Well, that's what I'm doing. Have you ever heard of undercover work? Yeah. That's what I was doing. See, we weren't getting anywhere with the chicken house murders, and I figured the only way we could crack the case was for me to infiltrate the whole coyote tribe. It was risky. I knew there'd be a good chance I'd never come back alive, but it had to be done. No fooling! That's right. And I had to be top secret. I mean, I couldn't even let you in on it. If them coyotes had ever suspected a thing, it would have been curtains for this old dog. Wow, were you scared? Nah, No, well, maybe a little bit. Actually, the toughest problem was keeping the women away. The women! Right, Drover. You won't believe this, but they were actually fighting over me. I mean, it got embarrassing for a while. Oh, why, one evening, these two beautiful women, well, I'll tell you about it later. Right now, we gotta crack the case. Now look at these tracks. What do you make of them? Drover squinted, looked at the tracks. Well, they were made by an animal. And I'd say the animal walked right past here and left these tracks on the ground. So far, that's pretty good. Now keep going. He shook his head. That's all I see, Hank. I'm stumped. Okay, now listen and learn. Them's badger tracks. While we was busy fighting the whole coyote tribe, a badger slipped in here on the ranch. Now, I've got a good idea that he's still around. You mean if we follow these tracks, we're going to find him? That's correct. Uh-oh, badgers are pretty tough. Yeah, that's pretty true, but duty's duty. If we start letting them badgers here, before you know it, they'll try to take over the place. Now, come on, Drover, we got work to do. He gulped. The badgers have big claws, Hank. You leave the claws to me. Now, I'll go in on the first wave, then you jump in from behind, and dang you if you run off and leave me again. Well, I don't know what I'll do, but you won't like it. Okay, Hank, I'll be right behind you. I put my nose to the ground and started following the trail. It seemed like it led me right past the saddle shed and through the garden. Reading the signs, I saw where Mr. Badger had stopped and dug a couple of holes for worms or bugs or something. I continued east, followed the trail through the gate, past the gas tanks, up the hill, right to the yard fence. This is worse than I thought, Drover. He's in the yard. This doesn't leave us much of a choice. This could get nasty. It could be a fight to the death. Whose death? In this business, you never know. You just have to give your best for the ranch. Come on now, let's move out. Now, we hopped over the fence. I got down in my stalking position and I picked up the trail again. The scent was getting stronger now. It was real strong. Badgers, you see, have these musk glands, and they leave a heavy scent. Suddenly, I saw him hiding in a bunch of flowers. I froze. Drover ran into me. This is it, I whispered. Good luck. I crept forward 2 steps, went into my attack position, and sprang, suspended in the air over the flower bed. I got a good look at the enemy. It suddenly occurred to me that badgers aren't black with 2 stripes running down the middle of their back. They don't have a little tiny head with really beady eyes or a long bushy tail. It was a skunk, and I'd been duped. I tried to change course in the middle of the air, but it was too late. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw Drover jump the yard fence and head for the machine shed. What followed next is entirely predictable. I landed right in the middle of the scoundrel, and he fired off one good shot. The air turned yellow and poisonous. My eyes began to water. I grasped for breath. Now, Sally Mae's south window happened to be open. Was that my fault? I mean, had I gone through the house that morning and opened up all the windows? Of course not. But on this ranch, rule number 1 is, when in doubt, blame Hank. I ran for my life and rounded the corner of the house just as Sally Mae came boiling out the back door. She was armed with a broom and took a swat at me as I flew past. My eyes were stinging so badly that you got to understand that I could hardly see, and I was having trouble catching my breath. The back porch door was open, and you might say that, well, I ran into the utility room where Sally Mae had just taken a basket of clean clothes out of the washing machine. Was it my fault that she happened to be washing clothes that day? Get out of my house, you stinking dog! Well, as I've said before, every dog in this world isn't cut out for security work. It requires a keen mind, thick skin, and a peculiar devotion to duty. I mean, you put in 16, 18 hours a day. You're called on day and night. Your life is on the line every time you go out on patrol. You're doing jobs that nobody else wants to do because of all the danger and etc., etc., etc. You make the world a little safer, a little better. You take your satisfaction where you can get it in knowing that you're doing the right job. And the very people you're protecting won't understand. They'll blame you when things go wrong, but that's the price of greatness, isn't it? And if you were born a cowdog, it's all part of a day's work. And so ends the original adventures of Hank the Cowdog. Thank you so much for joining me. By later on tonight, all 12 chapters will have been loaded up on YouTube. Send all your friends there if you can, especially those with kids. They could watch YouTube however often they want. Each chapter is loaded up individually. They can watch one at a time or 2 or 3 more and do a little binge watching during this time of coronavirus thingy. You know what I'm talking about, that COVID. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll be signing off. You guys be safe, love one another, be kind, take care of yourselves, because we want to see you again. And on Wednesday night, Hank the Cowdog, the case of the vampire cat. Love you guys. Good night.